And about 20 years ago, I wrote an article, and the article had the title, "Do we save the resources at the wrong place?" By always cost containment, cost containment, cost containment. And nobody looked at the indirect costs, which are very high and lead to very good and inspiring ideas in regard to other sorts of agendas, more prevention, more health promotion. So I still think this is important, and perhaps you should now tell me, where's number 2? You know what it is? It's the diseases of the digestive organs. And you know why? Because under this heading is the whole dental care. And dental care is the second most expensive disease that we are having. And I do not understand you, and you, as long as you're medical doctors, that you see that they take all the resources, although nobody's dying there in the dental care system. Okay, so this is in this respect. And when you go down, it's much easier here. Individual demand for healthcare and risk protection. Now I'm talking with you personally. What kind of protection do you want? Should ever be in a Bismarckian system, in a national health system? Do you want the second healthcare market? Do you want to exclude something? Do you want to include something? This is in here, and it's funded by insurances or by other systems, and here's the additional private expenditures in the second healthcare market. And being a health economist, you asked me to give an answer. Here are the answers. The meso level, the cost of illness studies that I showed you show us the most expensive diseases according to expenditure, life years, etc. I've talked about it. The micro level is easy, at least to speak about. Empowerment of the patient, enabling the population to enjoy a healthy lifestyle. This is what we have already. And some patients go to the doctor and say, well, I have seen this in the internet. Have you seen this? Okay. Or don't you like it? Or is it wrong information? So I have the impression that over the last 20 years, the patient is much more powerful than he was. He is much more powerful today than 20 years ago. Freedom to choose, health insurance coverage, the doctor, the hospital. This is something we can talk about. And I don't know what you think about it, but I am supporting the preferred provider organizations. I would like to join a fund where you can show me that you have the best doctors under contract and the best hospitals, and then I would enter your fund. I cannot do it in Germany, and I cannot do it other places, but this is something I have as a vision. And then in this connection, you can have a challenge, and this is in all 3 levels, and this major challenge is the following. It is between health and growth, and I have 3 hypotheses, and with these 3 hypotheses, I'm then at the end of the first 10 minutes. And this is a nice picture, and you could talk about this picture at least half an hour, but I will do it very briefly and very short because it's easy to understand. It's well prepared, as I think. And here it says, healthy aging raises productivity and thus gives a supply-side boost to growth. But I guess this is not the whole story. There's more to it, because you should add, where it says growth and GNP, you should add there volunteerism, work in the neighborhood, quality of life, work in politics, work in a sports club. So with the additional life years, you can do a lot. You must not increase by your human capital the GNP, but you can do something around it, which is very important. And the second point is that healthy aging gives a demand-side boost to GDP by growing private demand for non-reimbursable healthcare services. This is, again, the second healthcare market. And you know what we calculated? This second healthcare market is 2% of GNP. 2% of the social product comes from there. And then I could say, with a Bismarckian background, well, if it increases GNP, it increases salaries and wages. And when salary and wages are the tax-based rate for our financing, then this does something to avoid the erosion of the tax base for our statutory fund system. So there's something to it, and this is why it says here, the fiscal impact of the secondary health market requires further investigation. Here we need some research. And the last one here is so easy that I don't dare to tell you, but nobody talks about it. A healthy society saves money on treatment, rehabilitation, and nursing care. And this is so easy said, and it's very important because all of you would like to stay as long as possible in your own 4 walls. And now I would say, and probably this is something you may take home, your private household is the health location number one. It's the health location number one, as I've seen here, and you can see it as well. And the second health place is then outpatient care, inpatient care, and goes until the very end to palliative medicine. So this is another row that I would stress here, because this is what I have in mind. Now I come to my second 10 minutes, which are much easier or much nicer for me to talk about, because I belong to this team that is working on the empirical figures that we have calculated together with the, oh sorry, here are the results, but I guess I have said this already, private household number one, and with a shrinking population all over Europe, and this refers to you as well as the 28th member of the EU next year, has a great population, is needed with its positive effects on consumption, tax revenue and growth. I think this is easy to understand. And I jump to my next 10 minutes. And here I have a mission because I'm close to what we have done here. The Federal Statistical Office was commissioned by the Federal Ministry of Economics and Technology to create a so-called satellite account on the basis of the National Accounting System. And then BASIS and FIFO, two independent research association, and me, I'm with the Technical University teaching economics in the area of public finance and health economics. We had this research money and we won in competition with others. And this research project is still running, and we have finished and have published a handbook and books in English and German. And what we did is the following. They wanted us to identify economic variables, as I have seen here, inputs, gross value added, production cost, imports, and on the expenditure side, or on the other side of the GNP, you have final consumption, exports, investment. These are some of the variables they want us to calculate. And it's called satellite account because these satellite accounts give information that is not normally available when you are working with the national accounting system. This is something new, and there is a satellite for tourism and a satellite for this and that. And now we have a satellite account for healthcare. And the result is right here. I guess you can see it even over there and here. And these are the key figures. We have here the gross value added, and this shows over the years that the percentage is 10%. And this means, in case I would refer now to you, to all of you, that in your countries the GNP is by 10% done by the healthcare economy. And this is something new. And the share of overall economy in regard to exports is in our environment 6–7% over the years. And the employed persons, every 7th person in Germany is working in this area, so the largest employers probably are you with your institutions. And we have prognosis for 2020 where then it's 20% and every 5th person is working in this area and has a responsible job. And you can do this with the expenditures for consumption and so on. And when you are interested in the methodology, it's easy to understand, and I'm not joking. You have the direct effects, you have the indirect effects, and then the expenditure of income have induced effects because you are respending and generating income again. And when you do this, you come to such a multiplier process where you have the 10% right here, and then you can say the multiplier for the indirect value added effects, €1 produced in the health economy generates an additional production of 0.4 in the upstream industries. And this is something new, and it's not pioneering work, but nobody has done it so far, and we can criticize it, but I'm sure that you can use the 10% without increasing the GNP. But when you go in this area, you must be very careful because this might go to a GNP which is much too large to compare it with the reality. But I have more information here, and it sounds or it looks as if I go to my last 10 minutes, but I won't. What is the health economy after all? Well, within the national accounting system, it is an economic sector similar to many others. And then we gave to the Minister of Health, to the Minister of Economic and Technology our data. And then I went home, and as I'm a little older, as you can see, I thought, well, done, the work is done, everything is fine. And then these figures got so much attention that first we have this now on the federal level, now the states came and said we would like to have the same information, and then we did this for several countries, or they did it on their own, and then they compared each other, North Rhine-Westphalia, Berlin, Brandenburg, Bavaria, they all could calculate these figures, and now they are comparing and asking questions which are of interest, of course, for people with the university. But this is not the end of the story, and I must go a little bit in details. Sanofi-Aventis is a well-known firm. It's research-oriented pharmaceutical industry, and they said, can't you calculate this for our big firm? We are all in Frankfurt and around Frankfurt. We would like to see how much we contribute to the regional GNP, how much we contribute in taxes, how much do we contribute in social payroll taxes, so in the contribution to the social security. And they wanted to have this calculated, and we have done it. And in case you're interested, I can give you it by email tonight. And it's open, everything is published. It's a lot of work, and we have written, I guess, 120 pages just to describe the method we have used. It's not that difficult because the national accounting system stems from the figures that you have in your environment. It is not a macro approach, it's a micro approach. So everything is available, but you must work together with the controllers and ask them to find the right figures and to make it clear from a theoretical point of view. This is not the end of the story. The other firms saw what Sanofi did, and now Merck and Bayer, Siemens, Boehringer Ingelheim, Fresenius, and other big firms said, well, we would like to have the satellite account as well, but all on an individual basis. Perhaps they can, if they know each other pretty well, compare the figures, but they are separate. So we have the figures now for 6, 7, 8 firms. And this is not the end of the story. There are other firms as well, and they have medical appliances, so they belong to the health economy, insurances, and they say, well, it's interesting, and Frau Merkel is always doing this and that, and when we could show her how much we present for taxes and social contributions and employment, and that we can go with our production to other countries, then we have a good paper with which we can do influence political decisions. This has nothing to do with our calculations. It's just a background in which you can see it. And the story is not at the end. On October 25th, 2 weeks, I guess, the German Federal Association, or the German Association of Industry, the Bundesverband der Deutschen Industrie, has a one-day conference, probably with as many people as here. And then they will show the audience the multiplier and these 10% and the 7%, the 14%, what they pay taxes and so on, and wanted to say hello to all the politicians and other people. This is us. And they know that other sectors cannot show these figures because they do not have them. And then these people say, clever as they are, well, what we are talking about is not the health economy, we are talking about industrial sector. And we are now joining the industrial policy. Probably we don't like industrial policy, but when you're talking about it and you have these figures, you are much better than your neighbor who hasn't got any figures. And these figures are much higher compared to automobile and other industries. So you have to do something with it. And I guess some of you will yet now think, stop it. We have understood what you said. Tell us something about the health dividend, because I'm only talking so far about the economic dividend, and all the variables are important and are outputs in a certain sense, but not